One.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on the Nordic nation of Sweden. I'm Monica.
I'm Anna.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Nessa.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Nicholas. So today we're going to be giving a little introduction on the country, a country overview, and we're going to talk about its political climate, its legal system, its business climate, its social climate, and the pros and cons on whether or not you should conduct business there. So to introduce the country, it's a country known for its rich history, innovative society, and a stunning natural landscape. Some fun facts about the country is it experiences extreme variations in daylight, is a pioneer in medical innovations as the first pacemaker was implanted in Sweden in 1958. It is also known for its FICA culture, which is about socialization. A little bit more about FICA is that when Swedes take their time out of their day to pause and enjoy a hot drink and a snack, this is sort of like a tradition where they can take their time for themselves. The nation has a deep respect for nature and social welfare. So a little more about the country's geography and climate. It's located in northern Europe on the Scandinavian peninsula. It shares a border of Norway, Finland, and Denmark. Its climate varies depending on where you are. So in the far north, it has severe winters, year-round snow, and long days and nights due to its high latitude. In the north, it has severe winters but warm summers. In central and southern Sweden, it has short and cold winters, but long hours of sunlight and day. A majority of the population lives in central to southern Sweden. A little more of its geography has over 50% of its land is covered in forests. It has about 100,000 lakes, and there is a large mountain range called the Kolen Mountain Range that separates Norway and Sweden. To talk about its population, there's about 10 million people living in Sweden, with almost 80% of its population being Swedish. The other power demographics of the country is Syrian, Iraqi, Finnish. The most prominent religion in the country is the Church of Sweden, or Lutheranism, which about 54% of the population follow. It has a positive population growth rate of 0.51%.
Moving on to Sweden's political system. So Sweden operates under a parliamentary democracy with a constitutional monarchy. That's political climate is characterized by its progressive policies. This governmental structure emphasizes cooperation and multi-party representation, as well as the Sweden Democrats, or SD. They emerged as a significant political force that supports anti-establishment and anti-immigration views that are distinct from mainstream parties. As this right-wing party, their numbers rise, this poses challenges to the established consensus. The multilateral policy anchor and positive foreign relations contribute to the lack of involvement with armed hostility situations over the past 2 centuries. As of the 2022 election, the Swedish Democrats are now the second largest party, with new immigration policies wanting to be enacted. High levels of immigration have exacerbated domestic social and political tensions, which contributes to the party's appeal amongst voters. The influx of immigrants in Sweden has had a dampening effect on the average wage growth that fuels resentments and aligns more with populist anti-immigration sentiments. The SD's influence on foreign policy highlighted the need to reassess its posture in the evolving geopolitical challenges. In recent news, Sweden joined NATO on March 7, 2024. This is 2 years after Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. This forced them to reconsider their national security policy and begin supporting the alliance was the best way to secure national safety. So the idea behind consensus ideal is it's an idealized concept of harmony between all members of society. It's deeply embedded into the country's political culture. And Sweden aims to create a society where disparities are minimized and having a collective agreement on the importance of social welfare and equality is the most important. The most prominent example of this is found within the Swedish model of labor relations that represents a high degree of cooperation between employers, association, and trade unions. This has contributed to low levels of labor disputes and minimizes social tensions. Sweden's goal to be the world's first fossil-free welfare country is in act. Sweden's extensive efforts in investing in wind, solar, and bioenergy while aiming for 100% renewable electricity production. Their active participation in UN climate negotiations and support for global initiatives like the Paris Agreement is what makes them the top of their game. Their top-down approach involves this balancing act and the concept of fulfilling environmental objectives, which incorporates the collaborative note. And the primary focus of the state and public agencies is to have an environmental policy that stipulates shareholder engagement.
Sweden follows a constitutional monarchy, which means that the state recognizes the monarch as the head of the state, but the monarch's powers are limited by a constitution, as well as principles of a parliamentary democracy. When looking at the monarch's responsibilities, it's important to note that it's largely symbolic, which means they don't have an immediate role in day-to-day affairs. Rather, elected representatives of parliament are responsible for this instead. The powers of the monarch are regulated and outlined specifically in the Swedish constitution, and they do not have the authority to create or push laws independent of that. A strong value in Sweden is the commitment to the rule of law, which ensures all laws are applicable in an equal manner to all citizens and that the government powers must be regulated within reason. The Swedish constitution consists of 4 fundamental laws and defines the structure of government and distribution of powers. These 4 include the instrument of government, the art of succession, the Freedom of the Press Act, and the fundamental law on freedom of expression. The instrument of government establishes the structure in which the country operates, including but not limited to government structure, rights of citizens, and separation of powers amongst branches of government. The instrument of government is which defines the constitutional monarchy with the parliamentary democracy of Sweden. The art of succession lays out the rules for succession of the Swedish throne, including details regarding eligibility to the throne and order of succession. Third, the Freedom of the Press Act protects both citizens and corporations to express opinions without fear of retaliation and censorship. Similarly, the fundamental law of freedom of expression addresses that same freedom, but more protects individuals to express their ideas and opinions. Similar to the United States, Sweden has 3 branches: the judiciary branch, legislative branch, and executive branch. The judiciary branch operates independently from the legislative and executive branches in order to ensure that there's no bias and the law is fairly applicable. However, Sweden differs from the US as it follows a civil law code rather than a common law system. This means that laws are codified and based on written code and statutes rather than precedent from previous cases. There are 3 types of courts in Sweden: the Supreme Court, general courts, and administrative courts. The highest judicial authority in Sweden is the Supreme Court, which deals with cases that have large legal significance, or if more clarification is needed to reach an outcome of a case. Next are general courts in Sweden, which include both district courts and courts of appeals. Lastly, there's administrative courts, which jurisdiction applies to cases concerning public authorities. In any case, both parties present a case in an adversarial system. For example, in the criminal system, the prosecutor must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and in civil cases, there's a reliance on preponderance of evidence. Another solution, which is promoted heavily to legal dispute, is ADR, otherwise known as alternative dispute resolution, which is highly encouraged since it's faster and more cost-effective. Lastly, the impact on international trade and business due to Sweden's legal environment is very beneficial, as it is a part of the European Union, which allows it to have several bilateral agreements with various countries that affect trade relations and terms. There are extremely strict regulations placed on businesses by regulatory bodies in order to ensure fair and transparent business environments, customer protections, and environmental standards. There are also extremely strict legal measures to protect the investors from foreign countries and clear and fair frameworks for contracts and rights to encourage investment opportunities. Sweden's legal system may be strict. However, they promote an open and competitive market by promoting entrepreneurship and reducing barriers to entry of international trade to promote economic growth. All in all, Sweden's push for an open and economic market through their legal system enables the business climate of Sweden to be successful in the international market through an export-oriented manufacturing.
As Anna mentioned, the business climate in Sweden can contribute to success and expansion to the country. Sweden's market is a mixed open economy where most companies are privately owned. There are many global companies known that are Swedish-based, like Spotify, Volvo, and IKEA, to name a few. It is a highly competitive market that is welcoming to foreign competition, and Sweden is also ranked 6th out of 180 countries on the Corruption Index, further indicating that it is a great country to conduct business in. They have an export-oriented manufacturing sector that has allowed them to become a strong global economy. A strong economy is proved by the rank of 24th in the world for GDP, and they consistently rank high in connectivity, government, investment in research and development, and business climate indexes. In 2022, Sweden maintained high business freedom and an attractive investment climate, placing it among the best locations in the world to conduct business. Their major exports include refined petroleum, cars, packaged medicaments, electricity, and sawn wood, and major imports include crude petroleum, cars, refined petroleum, broadcasting equipment, and motor vehicle parts and accessories. The tree map shown here shows visually the exports of the country by sector. For example, you can see their two largest exports of refined petroleum in brownish red, and then cars in blue. There are many opportunities as an investor in Sweden's market, especially being their long tradition of expertise in manufacturing and engineering, mining, shipbuilding, and the life sciences, which makes it a highly receptive market to advance new technologies. They also have extensive developments in smart grid, decarbonization, alternative energy, and cybersecurity, which make it a critical market for innovative technologies to enter into. Despite many opportunities to entering Sweden's market, there are also challenges within their business climate. The openness to foreign competition as well as domestic competition make it difficult to compete, and companies must offer innovative tech and competitive prices in order to be successful. Sweden also has experienced high inflation, rising from 8.2% in 2022 from 2.2% the year prior. This is in part due to the conflicts in Ukraine and Russia during that year that increased the cost of living and commodity prices. As a result, businesses faced higher costs and consumers' real income gains were lowered, which resulted in reduced purchasing power. Additionally, Sweden has a very high cost of living and has high individual tax rates, as well as it is an expensive labor market. This may make it more difficult to keep costs low and maintain profitability while doing business there. Another important aspect of Sweden's business climate is their tradability and barriers. Sweden is a member of the European Union, the World Trade Organization, and the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, which make it an attractive country to import and export from. They are very supportive of free trade, and there are little barriers to trade. However, they do impose a fairly high value-added tax that might make it more difficult to export to. Overall, Sweden has a highly competitive business climate that is intertwined with its social climate, which Nessa will now go into depth about.
Yeah, starting off with a little demographic information. So the majority of the Swedish population are Swedes. However, over 1 million people in Sweden are actually immigrants or children of immigrants. So Finnish and Sami minorities make up the majority of the immigrants. There are also foreign-born or first-generation immigrants from other parts of Scandinavia, such as Denmark or Norway, and people from various other parts of Europe, Turkey, Asia, Africa, and South America also make up the population of Sweden. In regards to national languages, the national language of Sweden is Swedish, which interestingly enough wasn't official until 2009. The law enacted ensures that all safety and product information must be available in Swedish, and languages in schools should be Swedish. There are 5 official minority languages: Finnish, Meänkieli, Romani Chib, Sami, and Yiddish, which gained official status in 2000. This ensures that that people are entitled to learn and use the language. In specific areas with historical roots, some of these languages can even be found on administrative documents. English, however, is known as the most popular foreign language, and many people do use it. In regards to religion, Sweden is known to be one of the most secular countries in the world, so religion is largely kept out of schools and political life. However, if one were to practice religion, the most popular religion in Sweden is the Lutheran community, followed by other Christian denominations. There are also some pockets that practice Buddhism, Hinduism, and etc. In terms of their welfare system, Swedes do benefit from an extensive social welfare system that provides for child care, maternity and paternity leave, a ceiling on healthcare costs, old age pensions, and sick leave. So in regards to gender equality, Sweden is considered one of the most egalitarian countries in the world. So there is a very good parental leave policy. Parents are entitled to a total of 12 months paid leave between birth and the child's 8th birthday, which one of these months are reserved actually for the father, because Sweden was one of the first to adopt a gender neutral parental leave policy. However, if the father decided to not use that month off work, the parents would just lose that 1 month of paid leave. So in terms to employment, Sweden has been taking steps for gender equality in the workplace through gender discrimination laws and rights to equal pay. And in terms of women representation in traditionally male-dominated fields, women held 67% of executive position in the public sector during 2020. However, business still seems to be a more male-dominated field. Lastly, in regards to childcare, Sweden does have an extensive childcare system that guarantees a place for all young children from 2 to 6 years old in a public daycare facility. Then they attend a compulsory comprehensive school, and after completing 9th grade, 90% attend an upper secondary school. In regards to LGBTQ rights, Sweden has taken important steps to ensure that this community enjoys the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. Some of the more recent laws include gender-neutral wedding laws, adoption rights, insemination rights, and the prohibition of discrimination.
All right, to summarize a lot of what we have talked about, we'll go over some pros and cons of doing business in Sweden, and we'll go over 3 major pros and then 5 cons as well. Okay, so to get into the first pro, Sweden already has a very established business and political system. As it says here, it has a strong economic foundation, and it fosters a very healthy environment for businesses to grow. Sweden already ranks very highly in just business operations and the way that the economy is formed, and the government policies in place promote a lot of innovation and competition within the country, which also helps economic gain. Another pro is the major emphasis on sustainability and a green economy in Sweden. Sweden likes to have its sustainability and business go hand in hand, and this opens a lot of doors for new opportunities and innovation. There's also some examples is the recycling revolution that Sweden is initiating, and this is basically a big effort to increase recycling and just to promote less waste and stuff like that. And then the high level innovation of Sweden is a great place for startups, and this again goes hand in hand with the green economy that they're trying to follow. They're a global innovation leader. They rank very highly in the Global Innovation Index. As you can see, they were number 3 most recently, but in years past they've been around the 2 range. And they have a very supportive startup ecosystem with policies designed to encourage entrepreneurship and innovation. And to touch on the sustainability and innovation going hand in hand, again, it makes Sweden a leader in the clean tech and environmental innovation sector, and is a great place for just innovation and economic gain to occur. And then going over the cons of doing business in Sweden, we touched on a lot of these previously in the slides, but just to reiterate, there are very high individual tax rates, and this can just make it hard to get talent to come to Sweden. And another one is the complex labor laws. While this isn't a complete con, as it advocates for the labor workforce in Sweden, it does make it hard for managing these people and all that. And then the climate and geography of Sweden is harsh, again, as we stated earlier, which can make it hard to do business operations in some months during the year. There's also very high living costs, typically due to the climate and geography of Sweden. Again, making it a little harder to do business in Sweden and bring in talent from foreign countries. And then the small domestic market that Sweden has forces Sweden to do a lot of business outside of borders, and this can make it a little harder for startups to get established within the country. But again, this is a con that has ways around it, and there's a lot of opportunity to join larger economies around the world. And in conclusion, is Sweden a good country to expand to or invest in? Yes, it is. There's a very stable political climate in Sweden. The robust legal system provides a lot of great opportunities. There's openness to foreign competition in Sweden due to its small domestic market sometimes. And then the thriving economy Sweden already has helps bolster the potential for future economic gain. And so this is our bibliography, and thank you for listening to our presentation.